I'm affectionately joined by my brothers, Mr. Roland Walker, Mr. Poor Man's Dr. Phil. Shift happens. And my other brother, Mr. Christopher McClellan, from across the table with Christopher McClellan, also known as the angry guy that is still listening. Gentlemen, how are you doing on this fine Friday evening?
I'm good. I'm good.
I'm chilling. I'm trying to get my voice right. I gotta drink this tea, but I'm doing well.
That's what I'm talking about. And it's always good to see you guys, as always, just as though it is always good to see our followers, those who are actually in the chats. So, as always, we like to greet you guys by name. So, good evening, Miss Michelle Ray, Miss Cassandra McKenzie, Miss Lisa Keeves, Miss Bernadette Simmons, Miss Crystal Everett, Miss Verlene McCoy, and also Miss AES, Miss AES Productions. Good to see you guys and welcome to the show. Good to see you also, May Bird. And listen, if you are with us on this evening, again, get in the chats and say hello because on this channel, we like to call you by name. We like to give you your flowers while you can appreciate them because that's just what we do. I don't think we did it enough in our community. Also, if this is your first time joining us, look in the bottom right hand corner of your screen. You'll see the Facebook. I'm not the Facebook. You'll see the YouTube icon. Go ahead and put your cursor on top of that and click subscribe, join the channel. That way every time we go live, you will know, just like we will also tomorrow morning at 10:30. That said, I want to go ahead and dive into it. So I want to acknowledge the giveaway that we're giving. So again, right now we're still doing our monthly giveaway, so there's still time. So we're still giving away for the month of November. We're still giving away for the month of December. So for you to be eligible for the drawing, all you have to do is go to www.totalmindsetshift.com, www.totalmindsetshift.com, and just become a member of the website. Once you become a member of the website, just go to the community, look in the general chat, and the message that's pinned to the top of the board. Go ahead and open that message up, click on the month, and then you will actually find the show that you want to submit your question in. Just submit a question that you want us to ask during the show. And if you submit a question that you want us to ask during the show, we ask it during the show, then we will put you in a hat for the monthly drawing. And by the end of the month, we will actually, go ahead and draw for those who are registered. Here's the deal: the deadline for the drawing has to be the last show of the month. Can't give you credit for something that we've already done. So I want to make sure I get that out there. So before that last show airs that month, make sure that you get your question in so that we can put you in a drawing and then you will win a prize because that's what we like doing over there on Total Mindset Shift. Um, Before we get into it, I want to make sure that everybody understand. Okay, one of the reasons why I call this channel the Empowering Perspective, I call this channel Empowering Perspective because everybody has their own perspective, they have their own ways of thinking, they have their own experiences. That being said, everybody on this channel is a subject matter expert of their own point of view. That's right, they are subject matter experts of their own perspective. So if you're with us, make sure that you add yours in the chat because we want to acknowledge you. Now, are you ready to discover the perfect equilibrium between your work, your finances, and your spiritual well being? It's time to unlock the secrets to harmonious existence that resonates with your deepest desires and values. In a world that often pulls us in countless directions, leaving us feeling overwhelmed and disconnected, we invite you to join us for this conversation like no other. Balancing the scales, work life harmony, financial stewardship, and spiritual wholeness. Picture this: you're standing at the crossroads of your life, surrounded by the bustling sounds of opportunity, financial responsibility, and the longing for spiritual fulfillment. This conversation is designed to guide you through this intricate landscape with rich insights that cater to all walks of life. Whether you're a visionary entrepreneur, a devoted parent, or a spiritual seeker, there's something here for you. But we don't stop at conversation. We invite you to join the community, a vibrant network of like minded individuals dedicated to living these principles daily. Here, the conversations never end, and support is always at your fingertips. And for those looking to elevate your mindset to new heights, we present the Diamond Club, where we sharpen our understanding, grow together, and reach for the stars. So if you're ready to transform your life, embrace balance, steward your finances wisely, and nurture your spiritual well being, stay tuned to this experience. that will leave you inspired, informed, and ready to take action. Don't miss out on this opportunity to embark on a journey towards a more fulfilling and purpose-driven life. Now, I kind of want to set the conditions here first because y'all know me. I like numbers, I like statistics, things of that nature. Did you know that studies have shown that a staggering 67% of employees report experiencing burnout due to an imbalanced work life dynamic? Now, that said, gentlemen, I kind of want to present that thought to you and just kind of get your feedback on that. What are your thoughts when you start looking at an alarming number such as that 67% of the people experience burnout for a lack of work life balance?
I think one is 67% that report it. So I would say it's higher. And I would say in certain jobs, like the job that we held, you couldn't report burnout. Didn't matter. You got up, you went to work the next day because it was always instilled in us mission first. So that is alarming, and it it kind of sets the tone to why people stress, why people have anxieties and such.
Doesn't shock me at all. It truthfully doesn't. It doesn't shock me at all. One, everybody is afraid. So they feel like they have to work because if they don't work, some bill isn't going to get paid or that some, what I'm saying, or food isn't going to be in their refrigerator and things like that. A lot of people are working so much because they fear that lack. You understand what I'm saying? It's it's a weird thing. And on the other side of it, everywhere I look in my city and everywhere I turn, there's a now hiring sign, which lets me know that a lot of places are staffed, which means that the staff is going to have to work more to compensate for what the company is missing, which is going to equal burnout. Man, this doesn't shock me, man. This doesn't shock me at all.
But that's kind of like the point, though, right? I mean, it should be shocking. And I'm curious of what you guys think also in the chats. Let me know like what are your thoughts when it comes down to alarming numbers such as the 67% of people they struggle. They feel that they're being burnt out because a lack of work life harmony. Like that shouldn't be the case. Like you shouldn't and I'll go back. I'll turn back the hands of time back when I was married, right? Because my ex-wife was a teacher. And one of the things I know that she did on a regular basis is that she would get off work, come home and do whatever, like, cook, whatever the case may be. And then afterwards, she's working again. And I would ask her, like, why are you still working? She's like, well, I don't have time at work to prepare for the next day. So I'm like, "Man, there's something wrong with that. You see what I'm saying? So I'm trying to understand, and for the sake, if you guys will humor me, especially everybody in the chat, right? If you guys will humor me, like, what do you think the source of this burnout come from? Like, why does it exist? How is it that people feel? And Chris, I like your point to where everybody got bills, but why do you feel like this huge, overwhelming urge to continue working even after I clocked out, knowing good and well I'm not getting paid overtime? Where does this overwhelming urge to work stem from?
Fear. That's the only thing that I can think of. Fear. Fear of lack, to be real. And that's because everywhere you look in the media, which is what's consuming a good portion of our population, you hear something about some number going up that's going to affect everybody, or you hearing about you're hearing about the strike that's killing other people because the main manufacturers aren't working, so the suppliers aren't working, so supplies aren't getting out, so car dealerships are being overwhelmed because they don't have the inventory that they got, they stuck. You know what I'm saying? It's so much fear going on. And to be real, a lot of people are working that hard because they know that if they lose that, or they have the thought process in their brain, like if they lose that, they lose everything. You understand what I'm saying? So to me, I honestly believe this is all fear based.
I would say that it's a combination of that as well as my grandmother used to say, keeping up with the Joneses.
Mm.
Because now we gotta have 3 cars. And like I got a friend and daughter graduates high school. Oh, we gotta get her a brand new Tesla. Why? You don't even drive a Tesla. So the pressure we put on ourselves to be better than our parents, to do better, to live better, and to I remember when I was growing up, my grandma would complain about a $30 phone bill because you had a house phone, sat in the kitchen with a long cord, and
With
she
the
was
extra
complaining
long
about
cord that reached every corner of the house.
right. And now a phone bill is what a car payment used to be. Is 3, 4, $500 because everybody's on your plan and this, that, and other. So now you got to pay that and keep people happy. And everybody wants to keep people happy. Well, if I don't do it, then they gonna do this. If I don't. So that's diving into what Chris was talking about, that fear. Because when you're looking at keeping up with the Jones, it's the fear of me not looking like I have something or me not having it. Where like next week on next Thursday, everybody gonna be trying to feed and outdo other people. Everybody gonna be taking pictures of plates. Everybody gonna go out and buy $100 turkey from Popeyes and act like they cooked it in the backyard. But you do that. Sometimes we do a lot of things not to satisfy family, to impress other people.
I like that. Fear and keeping up with the Joneses. I like both of those perspectives. I'm gonna raise you a different perspective as well. And I think a lot of times some people do it just because they're looking for the positive praise from their bosses when they get to work, right? I think some people need that justification, that validation from the people that they work with, just for, just to hear that person say, "Hey, you did a good job," or just to put in that extra work to make sure that they produce a good product or something of that nature. I think all of that encompasses what we're talking about here. Now, I kind of want to raise the ante just a little bit, if you guys don't mind, because this is Men's Health Month. And so that said, how much pressure do you think that that puts on men? Like when you're listening to all of what you're saying, right? You got, holiday season coming up. You got Thanksgiving, and then Christmas, Thanksgiving around the corner. Then you got Christmas right down the street, right? You got the New Year's coming up as well. And you know what we do? We like to eat in all three of those venues, right? And then of course, you got the kids, and the kids got to have presents, and you cannot not get the child what they want, because now you got to listen to the consequences and the repercussions to go along with that. How much stress do you think that this adds to the men level of stress, just keeping up with the work life harmony thing?
I would say that it will put more stress on the men only because there's this overwhelming, overreaching responsibility, for lack of a better term, that has been thrown at us to be productive and to do something. And if we're not doing something, then we don't have any value. You understand what I'm saying? So that in itself, that unreasonable responsibility, that unreasonable pressure that's put on us by society, that could I could understand how, and the whole you can sleep when you dead. You don't need to rest. Sleep is for broke people. You understand what I'm saying? You hear that a lot too. So all of that can contribute to just flat out. I always say sometimes you need to sit down before your body sits you down. And I have been sat down by my body and it does not feel good at all. So you understand what I'm saying? It's a culmination of a bunch of things that add to the un I'm gonna say unreasonable and unfair responsibility for us to be productive all the time and not be able to chill out.
I think we become family and people pleasers when it comes to the kids and the wife and the we try to please everybody because everybody wants something. And we look at like, oh, I got to get it. So we put undue pressure on ourselves to make it happen because we going to hear, whether you do or don't, somebody saying it or you thinking it, there's somebody saying, oh, he ain't this or he ain't that. You thinking about how people look at you, how they presume you to be when you don't do something. And that's why, like, my kids know I'm not doing none of that mess. I'd rather buy some CDs or buy some money market money funds versus me buy something that I got 13 grandkids. So I'm trying to make it to where you can have some money later. I ain't trying to have you get something, then you playing with the box more than you playing with the toy. And I always tell my kids, you buy them that little junk, and I'm buying something that matters because I had to take it upon me to relieve that pressure off of me. Because I'm like, why are you killing yourself to make people happy that's ungrateful?
But let's get to the root. Why did you have that thought process in the first place that you had to do that?
Because we grow up in the marketing system and the system teaches us that this is what we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's why I said that there's a unreasonable amount of responsibility that's put on us because the market is telling us that we gotta do this.
Yep.
You understand what I'm saying? So I completely get what you're saying about us putting the pressure on us as far as we gotta do this, but there's a societal pressure saying you gotta do this or you're not worth nothing. You understand what I'm saying? And that's where a lot of the men that's what a lot of the men are thinking right now. They're thinking, if I don't do this, if I don't make this, if I don't make this happen, I don't have any value. And
Right.
that's because that's what the market is saying. So, yes, we put that responsibility on ourselves, but we wouldn't even be thinking about it if society didn't put it on us as a whole.
Hmm.
And that's me looking at it objectively. I don't have that kind of pressure because it's just me. I don't have anybody under me that I got to take care of. I don't have anybody above me that I got to take care of. So it's just me. I don't have that pressure. My responsibility is to me and me solely. So I don't get that side of it, but me looking at everything and pulling myself out of it, that's what I see.
Mhm.
A societal pressure put on us and then individual pressure put on us because society put this pressure on us. If that makes any sense.
No, that makes perfect sense. AES Productions, what we've done, we brought up a statistic: 67% of people, of the workers, have experienced, some anxiety. They experience burnout because of work life, lack of work life balance. And so we're trying to unpack right now what that looks like. Why does that happen? Why do you think that exists? And then from there, we went to talking about men, and what that looks like to men, since this is Men's Health Month. But I also don't want to leave the ladies out because I think this is important to realize that it's not just an attack when it comes down to burnout. It's not just an attack on one person. It has no prejudice. So let's change the dynamics now. Let's look at a single mom, right? So now single mom has to take care of the child. And let's just make it as bad as it can possibly be. Daddy don't want nothing to do with the child. Daddy don't want nothing to do with mom as well, right? Which we know that even though that does exist, I don't know any man that sits in that arena. However, let's just make that the scenario. So mom has to foot the bill all by herself, and she's been trying, and dad don't want to participate. So now she got to work. She got to take care of the child. Thanksgiving around the corner, Christmas down the street, and New Year's coming up, right? She don't want to disappoint her child. Now, again, look at some of the pressures that we're talking about. Look at some of the stress that goes into mom and all that kind of things of that nature. So, can we kind of like, and I know you guys aren't women, I get it. I'm not asking you to be women, but just imagine, right? Because we talked about it from a man's perspective. Can you imagine what it's like being from a woman's perspective now to where the dad is not involved, doesn't want to be involved? Like, what do you believe that looks like? And for those in the chat, by all means, kind of help us out with this question as well. What does that look like from a woman's perspective who do not have dad, but she has the kids and she got to raise the kids? And then by that same token, the holidays are around the corner.
I think I grew up in that.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah. And it was where, but I had because we lived my great grandmother, but they made sure You may not have had the newest race car track and all these toys, but they made sure you had something no matter what. It was like simply because one person chooses not to be involved, I don't care whether it's the male or the female, the parent or whomever has to step up, and it adds pressure because they don't want to feel like mess and they want to see a smile. They know that when the kid goes out, like when we were growing up, we would get these boxes from I forgot where they were from, but they would like for poor people. They would give you boxes, and they'll have like a shirt, some socks, some underwear, and maybe a toy or whatever. And when you went back to school, everybody knew who had the boxes because everybody would have that shirt on, and things like that. For a kid's psyche is embarrassing. So the mother or the grandmother or the father, whomever it is, that single parent goes above and beyond. I've been there where I put myself in debt to make sure they had. I'm maxing out credit cards for this day. I'm maxing out credit cards to make sure we eat, to make sure you're happy on this day. And you do that and you realize, like, hold up, this is not just a mental bondage, but it's a spiritual and it's a bondage that takes hold of your wallet first and your heart, and then it makes to where you sit up there and think this is what it's we normalize it. This is what we have to do every year, and it's a cycle. Every year we're going in debt. Oh, I got to do it. No, we don't have to do it.
I'm going to take a different approach. And before I take this approach, I'm going to put this disclaimer out here. I am not attacking women. I'm just looking at a specific behavior and I'm pointing it out. Roland and I have a similar background as far as being brought up by our mothers. You understand what I'm saying? Roland might have seen something different. I might have seen something different. So I'm going to speak anecdotally from what I saw. My mom lived across the street from my grandmother. So I always, it's like, I think it's different for men and women because with women, automatically, they have a safety net, meaning no matter what, at least the women in the family are going to make sure that the kids are straight, even if there are no men around. You understand what I'm saying? So it's difficult for me to view it like that because I didn't I was in it, but I wasn't in it. Like I don't know the little intricacies and the behind the scenes of what happened. But all I know is when push came to shove, when my grandmother was still alive, my grandmother, both my aunts and my mom made it happen for everybody. You don't really see that with fathers. You understand what I'm saying? You don't really see fathers having that net group. They may have crew, but they crew got stuff that they dealing with too. You understand what I'm saying? So it's difficult. It's not the same as having, it's not the same as saying all of your brothers are around and your brothers are gonna make sure that the kids are straight no matter what the women do. Because there were no men around like that. So I can view it from that aspect. But if I'm viewing it from what I see today in the modern era, I don't feel sorry for them because this is what they asked for. This is the bed that they made. They asked to be independent. They asked to not need, they set it up so that way they couldn't have a man in the house if they wanted benefits. That's just law. But now they're saying that they don't need us. If we don't make a certain amount of money, we can't do nothing for them. No way. So they're not even going to look at us. It's like there's so many narratives that are put out there that's deterring any of us from helping them because for years they've been saying that they don't need us and we ain't nothing. No way. So that's me looking at it from what it is right now in today's modern era. You understand what I'm saying? Like I'm not knocking them. I'm not attacking them. This is just a behavior that I see. And I see men basically saying, men and other people that are around them that really don't like what they're saying or don't agree with what they're saying because everybody needs everybody. They're basically saying, okay, prove it. You got it. Let's see what you got. And they're going about their business. So I see it from both sides. This is why I'm indifferent. This is why I'm objective about it, because I know one side actually exists. where women will actually get together and make sure that the kids is okay no matter what's going on. But I also see women saying that they don't need us, and we're saying prove it and going about our business. You understand what I'm saying?
I do. I do. Um, I think so. To be honest with you, I think all of our backgrounds are very similar. Um, and I could sense the stress. I can sense the pressure. I can sense my mom working and, in some cases working overtime because the holiday season is coming up. Doing the things that she needed to do for us to have, not just, have, but, try to have kind of decently. She wasn't going over the top. It wasn't Tommy Hilfiger this, Michael Jordan this, none of that stuff. It was just that for us to have collectively. And I can clearly tell you from experience in observing. I know it's stressful. I get it. And I think that's kind of the thing that we're talking about here. It's stressful for both parties. Um, and to your point, Chris, I get that as well. But I want everybody who heard that, I want them to understand that he did not say that that's absolute across the board, the entire population,
I don't
right?
do absolutes. Only a
No,
Sith deals in absolutes.
absolutely.
Word to Obi-Wan Kenobi, but go ahead.
Absolutely. So that was my dad joke for the day. Forget y'all. Um, so yeah, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the concerns that we have in our community, and we're talking about it from a perspective of care and concern holistically because we understand that it affects the younger generation. It affects how they move. It affects the changes that they're making in life and things of that nature. And so when you look at the desire to fit in, the lack of work-life harmony, the desire to provide because you don't want to disappoint your child, but your child never once told you in any shape, form, or fashion that, I needed and wanted everything that was on the Christmas list that you asked me to make, right? And then when I make the Christmas list in your mind, I would be disappointed if I did not get some things off of that Christmas list. Well, that child never said that. A lot of times, what you'll find is that that parent makes that up in their head, and largely it's because of something that took place, something that they experienced, that they had lack, and so forth and so on. And again, that's not absolute, that's not across the board, and that's not a general statement for everybody. That's just some things I know exist. So so I want to kind of dive into, wait, hold on, I'm sorry, let me grab some statements that were made, because man, I didn't realize I was doing all this over here. Look out. I'm gonna start with Lisa Keys, where she talked about the American dream fallacy. Um, we are working under a structure that will never benefit any human being. Um, and I want to make sure that we understand the structure that she is making reference to. She is not saying working does not benefit you. She is not saying that, having a job and paying bills and providing for your family isn't a benefit. It's ultimately set up, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's ultimately set up that your job will never move you to the space that you can live comfortably. So what you're doing is you're constantly in this cycle of trying to improve yourself to work, and in essence just to get a better job and then get a better job and so forth and so on, when in essence a job was only supposed to be for a period of time anyway, because ideally we were supposed to have things stored up family wise, and that's a whole nother conversation I don't want to necessarily dive into. Okay, thank you, I just want to make sure. I think she was responding to the comment that you made, Chris, about the inspirational speakers working in, and if you don't, whatever you don't, you're only as good as what you provide, or something of that nature. Let me see. Want to make sure my life is measured based on biblical principles and values. I used to be that person, and now I have a great sense of peace to look to society for validation. To look to society for validation, absolutely. Not to look to society for validation, absolutely. I appreciate that. So yeah, let's kind of go ahead and dive into it again. I don't want you guys to think that I'm missing your comments. It's just that we need to continue compressing forward. But keep putting your comments in the chat, and we'll get them. I promise we'll get to them. Okay. First category is work life harmony. Now, I think this virus, this pandemic has taught us some lessons, right? And it taught the work system some lessons, and it taught the employers some lessons. And a lot of times we came to the conclusion that you don't have to be on site to do your job. And so what happened is they came up with this concept of remote work or telework or whatever that looks like. So, gentlemen, that said, in the context of today's society, right, in today's digital age, how do you navigate the challenges of remote work, prioritize care, and promote a supportive workplace culture that values work life harmony?
In today's digital age, I don't think you can. I think we're too far gone as far as as far as having a device in your hand that connects you to the world, or being able to sit at home in your pajamas and do a couple documents, key a couple codes, and make some money. You understand what I'm saying? I honestly don't think that we can. I don't think there's a way to go back to how it used to be when there were brick and mortar and you had to go to work. Like a lot of these, the 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 thing that happened made us change so quickly to make sure that we could actually do work, that nobody could see the forest for the trees. You understand what I'm saying? Nobody could actually see what this would actually do to the workplace. So I honestly don't think that there's a way to I don't think there's a way to go back, especially with all of these rules. And if you say the wrong thing, somebody from HR can come to your desk and escort you out the building, even if you don't know what you said was wrong. I don't think there's a way to go back. I truly don't.
I think we're still working on a platform from the Industrial Revolution. We're still doing it the same way we did it at the turn of last century. And we're moving into a digital era where we understand that that's not needed, but people want you there. They want to see you. And it's not necessary unless you work on one of those jobs like Chris was talking about, the UAW issues. In order to make a truck, somebody got to be here. But if you have a job where you can do it from home, where you can do it from your living room, that takes stress off of you. It takes stress off of me. As long I'm a person where if you can do the job and do it well, I don't need to babysit you, because that's what a lot of it be. In the military, we would be at work twiddling our fingers a lot of times. They were like, "Well, make up something to do." And you make up a lot to do when you could be spending time with family, you could be spending time bettering yourself. But in order for me to allow you to better yourself, that means you'll no longer need me. So sometimes businesses don't want you to not need me. They want to keep dangle a little carrot in front of you. And I know Chrysler, I think they the last ones to sign their contracts and everything. And what they're offering them, they didn't want to give them $2-3 raise. It's like, hold up, you're telling me every year you're bragging about being this much of a billionaire, but then the people that work for you can't even afford the products that they make, and it's an issue. So now they're going back, and then they're overseas, and the guy said he'll move it overseas, his company overseas, and everything. So it's one of those things where we look at how do we balance this thing. I think we educate ourselves. We educate ourselves to where I don't need you, because when I need you, I'm at the behest of whatever it is that you deem necessary. If you say I got to be there for 12 hours a day for absolutely no reason, but I got to be there 12 hours a day just because you said it, you writing a check, I got to be there.
I get that, and I'm with you. I want to make sure I'm understanding what you said before I move forward. So, in other words, what you're saying is take your power back from the person who writes your check.
All day.
Okay, just want
I
to
would
make
say I would say look at the person writing your check as an investor to what you really want to do. Look at it like that. That's what gets that's what gets me up in the morning to go punch in. Me working every hour here is an investment in what I really want to do. I just got to do this for right now till I got enough to really do what I want to do. A lot of people don't have that. They don't even have that mindset. A lot of people are still living in the employee mindset, which is cool. I mean, if you want to work for somebody and that's really what you want to do, go for it. You understand what I'm saying? Go for it. But what I would do is I would, if I'm gonna work for somebody else, I'm gonna put myself in a position where I can at least call my own shots under the, you know what I'm saying, under the umbrella. But I still love the job and I still want to do this. You understand what I'm saying? Like, but and on the flip side of that, you have people that are happy right where they are. They cool.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So I mean, it varies, but I just don't understand. I get it, but like I said the other day, man, I think everybody has a gift. I really do. I think everybody has a gift. And if everybody found what their gift was and they dove into their gift, they'd be okay. Even if your gift is working for somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think I'm gonna go to the other side of the fence. I think culture is always a leadership concern. And so I think when leaders get to the point of valuing their people, because I don't think culture changes just because it's on site or off site. I think culture again goes as the leadership goes. So when it comes down to it, if leaders focus on their people and make their people feel valued, then I believe what you'll find is that not only will you get a more quality return on your investment as a leader. But what you'll find is that those employees will get to the point to where they realize that as leaders, you want them to have that balance. You want them to have that harmony. You don't want them working 12, 13, 14-hour days when you're only paying them for 8 hours, right? They don't, yeah, by the way, because you're working from home now and we're not paying the electric bill to keep the lights on. We're not doing all of those things that we were doing when you were on site. We take that money that we were putting into it, and instead of padding our pockets, we pad yours because we want you to understand how much we appreciate you. We look at certain things like sick days, we look at certain things like leave days, right? We start helping you to get into investing into the company and things of that nature, like stock options, so forth and so on. So I think all of those things get to, an employee to the point to where, again, like we was just talking about, holiday season coming up, we got to provide for the kids, things of that nature. Well, if employees made more, right, then they would value their jobs more. If they felt that their leaders cared about them, they would value the leaders more. I heard a phrase a long time ago that employees don't leave jobs, they leave bad leaders. And I think that's the key. And so when leaders recognize that they are the source of turnover, then they will turn themselves over for the sake of valuing their employees. And then they look for longevity, they look for tenure, things of that nature. So the same amount of time, energy, and effort that you put into customer relationship, why not put it into employee relationship through engagement as well? And I think when we do that, I think you'll find that not only will employees stay longer, but they will value the place that they work. And they may also contribute to recruiting as well. You know, you want to compensate them for recruiting. Why not create a place where they want their friends to come and work because they will feel valued? And that's just my opinion when it comes down to it. And that's in conjunction with everything you guys said because I'm agreeing with you.
And Dwayne, speaking on that, I was watching maybe 2 days ago, watching TV where this company, the CEO said no one at his company would make less than $70,000 from the mail room on up. Nobody's gonna make less than $70,000 a year. And the people said, "Oh, you're gonna fail. You're gonna go out of business." But because he poured into the people stayed, and they had positive work ethic and everything. And the company is thriving and everything because he cared about the people more than he did lining his pockets.
Absolutely. That's what work is. It's people business. I don't care what it is. Go ahead, Chris.
And you can see the converse of it too. Because I just saw on I was watching somebody's live stream in WeWork who primarily does remote work just filed bankruptcy
Mm,
because they're not taking care of the people that they hired to do the remote work. You understand what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
one company is thriving because they did what they were supposed to do for the people, because I'm guessing he was smart enough to understand that without the people, he wouldn't have what he have in the first place. And then you have another company who was just using the people to do remote work because he knew that they didn't want to go to an office, and now he's bankrupt.
Mm. My. Got to take care of the people. Got to take care of the people. Okay, let's grab a couple of comments before we move on to the next. And again, greatly appreciate you guys and the comments that you're putting in here. Let's Now we have a CEO saying shut down the economy until the workers come back to it. I did see that.
I
Um,
heard about that too.
yeah, yeah, it's almost like punishing them and making them want to, lean on and depend on working for somebody else. Um, and, and you guys know how I am. Like, I don't care who you talk to, man. There's always something that somebody is saying. I don't care how ridiculous it sounds. It has to be some layer of truth to what they're saying, but not the entirety of it. I get his point, but the way he's going about doing it, man, you might as well go back to modern day slavery. That's crazy. Yep. Culturally, if people just look at the facts, that all of this is material. Absolutely. Chasing material gain will make you submit yourself and subject yourself to somebody else's pen. That's just really what the facts are. So thank you for that. I
It's
work for
like
some.
it's like people are in competition just to see who can go broke first.
Mm.
Is that what I'm saying? Like, is I'm sorry, I was about to go on a rant. I'm sorry. I
So
digress.
you telling me I shouldn't have all these boxes over here that I ain't opened yet?
Why do you listen, man? If you can afford it, go for it. You
Don't
understand
judge
what I'm saying? I'm
Don't
not
judge me,
judging you
man.
at all, man. That's
Don't
your
judge
money.
me.
You can spend it the way that you want to.
I need
It's
an
all
intervention,
good.
y'all.
I know you don't, because you and
Oh,
see, here's the difference between you doing that and somebody else doing that. You not gonna lose nothing doing that. Everything else is taken care of. There are people doing that just to front like they got all of this taken care of to look good in front of a bunch of people who don't care no way. And a good majority of them know you lying.
well, then there's that.
See, remember a couple months ago, I was telling you I was getting a job.
Yeah, I remember that.
I talked about it. I was like, because I'm bored, not because I need the money, because I'm bored at home. I'm retired. I don't need the money, but I told them I'm getting a job, and the people who were willing to pay me what I think like $33, $35 an hour to go and babysit people. I could have done that. I could have, but what it takes away from my house, what it takes away from my family structure, it yeah, I'm out of the house for however many hours. See, sometimes we got to think about what's best for the collective and stop looking at, I got to do, I got to move, I got to be, because we throw our kids out at 18, you got to get up out of here. And whereas we can continue to build as a family, we can continue to raise this family up, this structure, and help you get into yours and move that way instead of see culturally we have been taught to damage ourselves, and I say it like that. And how we damage ourselves is we have been taught to separate from the family. When you leave, hey, you got to go. When you get older, you got to go get your family, get your own. And now we have a bunch of people struggling to pay bills in separate houses, whereas we can collectively come together and pay for structures and then continue to build, buy things, and own. And without ownership, you don't have anything.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let me see. Cassandra said, "I work for someone that says he doesn't believe that the employees are truly working if they're at home. If he doesn't see you physically, he thinks you are goofing off." Yeah, that is the definition of a micromanager textbook. That's all I'm saying. Don't judge me, y'all. I love everybody. All right, we got to press. Let's jump over to the money questions because I want to make sure we kind of get some of that as well. So next, we're going to jump into financial stewardship. Okay. So the first question up under that, gentleman, is how do you differentiate between financial success and financial well-being, and what principles should individuals understand to achieve both while maintaining ethical financial practices? Now, before I turn the floor over to these gentlemen, I want to first set the conditions. We are not giving you financial advice. So don't say that Coach or Roland or Chris told me to go invest X amount of dollars in Bitcoin. It didn't work out for you. We are not giving you advice. We're just talking about principles right now. So, gentlemen, the floor is yours.
I don't know. I don't.
It was just a
I
face,
do.
bro.
I listen, man. I do not know. I don't know how to differentiate between financial success and financial well-being. From what I've been hearing, they're both synonymous. You got to be financially successful to have a great financial well-being. You understand what I'm saying? So this is the part where I sit back and I listen because I have absolutely no idea. And to keep it real, financial success and financial well-being is all subjective. It's up to the person. So I don't know. I know what it would be for me, I think, but on a general scale, I would say on a general scale, anecdotally speaking, for men, financial success and financial well-being is being able to take care of what you got to take care of without any worries. You understand what I'm saying? I think that's where the baseline is. Then you got the cherry on top where you can go get your toys or you can go have 1,000 boxes in your office that you haven't opened yet. You understand what I'm saying? But as far as like core, as far as like core, since we're speaking as men, most men just want to be able to take care of what they need to take care of, including their family, and then they straight. If they can, if once they do that, everything else is extra.
Hmm. How
Don't you don't you
now
just
you
like
know?
how he said he ain't had nothing and then he dropped all that just now?
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
and usually I have props, but these weren't props. They were actually right here.
Oh,
And
Jesus
when you
H.
spoke on finance, read Bidenomics, Dr. Claude Anderson, Black Labor, White Wealth. You got, for one, you have to know why we are in the situation that we're in so that we can get out, so that you can make a plan to get out. And when you learn how to move financially, you'll realize how much money you waste, how much how much more important your time is than that hourly wage. Yeah, we got to do it, but do it for a time frame. Do it to move back to a better situation, because when we look at financial success, that varies from person to person, from family to family, because I may not have a lot of needs, while other people, like, I may do a lot with my grandkids. Take, I may, okay, I'm buying school clothes, buying summer clothes to help facilitate children. Whereas somebody else, Chris, it's just him. So what he needs, may not be what I need. And then it's all what you place importance on as well.
Right. Like I don't have that extra sense of responsibility that Roland has. So my version of financial success and financial well-being is different. From what Roland just said, his version is, all right, man, I got this military money that takes care of this, but I also have this, so I can go do this for my grandkids, or I can go do this for my daughters, or I can go do this for, he can go do things for people. That's why I said, as far as men goes in general, they just want to be able to take care of what they need to take care of. You understand what I'm saying? Without it being a heavy burden, and then be able to do extras on top of that. But that's me speaking anecdotally and looking at everything from an objective point of view. I could be wrong.
No, no, I like it. So first and foremost, April 15th, no, April 5th, I'm gonna do a teaching on money attachment styles and relationships. Because I think it's important. I think when we go back and look at this question, sure, I agree with you. This question leads you down the hole of subjectivity. But I think that's where the issue lies, is that we are looking at it subjectively, right? There's some keywords in here, right? You know me, you guys know me. Words mean things, right? Keywords are in here. And I like to, Chris, we look baseline things, right? Baseline things and start from there and build upon that. So you see the term success, and then you see the term well being,
Mhm.
right? I like to go back to Earl Nightingale's definition of success. I love his definition of success, and I just kind of create mine based upon that. And Earl Nightingale stated that success is the progressive realization of a worthy idea, right? So the progressive realization. So when you look at financial success, it must be a progressive realization of what your finances are and can be in real time. Just that alone helps you to understand that if you're at a space where you're at what I tend to call financial stagnation, that's your own fault because you have not progressed in your understanding of financial success. Well-being, I look at it the same thing because I look at it differently, but they're the same, right? So right? So financial wellness, right? Which means that we don't have any financial difficulties, struggles, or any financial sicknesses, right? And then being, right? So what relationship do you have with finances? That's one of the first things that we need to understand. I hate to say it that way. I've been saying this for a very long time. Relationship involves everything. You have a relationship with your finances, whether you realize it or not. It realize it, you may not realize it. So you may view, going back to what we were talking about a few seconds ago, work, you may view finances as something to idolize. Pay attention to society because it's a lot of idolatry when it comes down to money that exists right now into this world in this world. We'll just sit there and make it rain, do all kind of unnecessary stuff along with it. So there's a toxic relationship with money that exists in today's society, right? We go out there and buy yes, I do have my boxes over here again. We got them buy frivolous things that we don't necessarily need. I own that. I got that part. Listen, I am a true retiree, right? What is that? Home shopping network? If I wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, my wallet needs to be on the other side of the room. I promise you, because if there's an infomercial on TV, you know, chances are, if it's something I like, I'm going to buy it. But that is not a good thing, especially if you're in the space where you're living check to check. And I'm just being transparent here, right? So we need to understand the relationship that we have with finances, and we need to understand what our definition of success look like when it comes to finances. So in essence, it all starts here. It has to start here because that's where it's going to end. And when we look at it from that perspective, it doesn't matter what it looks like today. It can change next year. It can change in 2 years, but you have to draw a line in the sand and say, you know what? It's no longer going to control me because it is a resource for me. That's it. That's all it is. It is a resource. And when you understand that it's a resource, it was never intended to provide your needs. It was only intended for it to go out and gather some friends and then come back. It's supposed to work for me. And if I do it from that perspective, Chris, I'm going to challenge your thoughts real quick because now it's not that you don't have the same responsibilities that Roland have. You actually have more responsibilities that Roland have. Roland is only responsible initially for what's in his household because you don't have them in your household. You're responsible for those outside of your household. You see what I'm saying? Roland is charged to raise those up in his house. So when they go out together. You see what I'm saying? That's the thing. That's that corporate social responsibility that we each person need to embody, need to embrace, and need to understand. We need to get out of the habit of walking down the street because cell phones are this big these days. Walking down the street like this right here, pretending like we don't see people anymore. We got to stop doing that, right? We got to be able to look at people and identify those people who are in need. And those people who are in need, I'm supposed to have more than enough so that I can help those people. That's just my take. And again, I'm not forcing that belief system on anyone else. That's just how I see it.
I know we're not advisors or anything like that, but I'm going to give out a piece of advice. Everyone go to YouTube and look up The Strangest Secret in the World by Earl Nightingale. Just listen to it and then accept the challenge at the end.
Yeah, if you've never listened to Earl Nightingale, I promise you, it's probably going to be in something black and white, and it's probably going to sound like an old, what is it, transistor radio? What he's talking? Yeah,
Listen, man,
a
listen.
record. Yeah,
No homo, his voice is great. He has a great voice. It's so hypnotizing. Like I want to lay on a bed made of his voice. It is
that was
great.
That was over the top. Let's just
Yeah,
say
it
this.
was great.
Yeah.
His voice is just so his voice is so hypnotizing and it's so relaxing. And even in the beginning of it, he even says, "Look, I can't tell you how to live your life. I particularly do not care. But I've learned some things, and maybe if you listen to him, you would be able to do this too." And that's what got me hooked on him. He's just hypnotizing.
I like it. I like it. You just kind of with the bed thing
Yeah,
that
the
just
bed thing was, yeah,
yeah
yeah.
yeah
I
you
was
was
with
up
you
there.
until no.
We're joking, man, but no, he's absolutely right. It is definitely a thing, um, but I mean I can't stress that piece enough. But again, April 5th, I'm going to talk about the money attachment styles, and I think that is going to be something interesting and probably something that you want to be a part of. Let's kind of jump into this. What we got? Okay, let's do that one. How can we bridge the gap in financial literacy on a broader scale to empower individuals to make informed financial decisions and practice effective financial stewardship? Roland, I want to start with you simply because I think you started answering this with your last response. So if you can kind of expound a little bit on that, I think you'll do well.
I think if we focus more on cultural building and finances and classes of that sort, we will establish a child that grows into an adult without these bad habits that the parents have. Because reading these books allow you to have a mirror in front of you where you can see, like, oh, I've wasted a lot of time, I've wasted a lot of money, I've wasted a lot of resources trying to please other people. Whereas if, when you can teach a child something, because like my grandsons know how to play them video games well, my granddaughters and everybody know how to get on TikTok and all, they use computers and all these things. But if you can use them to learn coding, if you can use them to learn things to where at the end of the day you will make some money from this thing, or it will help you build something of your own, then I think when you realize that if instead of me spending $300 on some Jordans, I can take that money and put it in the stocks. When you teach in stocks, when you teach in money market funds and things like that, and you show them, hey, if you do this, you can actually build something. You can make some money. You can have more than if you just going to school next week in a new pair of Jordans and you're looking good. See, I think you have to break it down to a child's level, teach them on the child's level, even adults, and walk them through it and make it not a quarterly thing or monthly thing, but an everyday lifestyle thing where this is we're gonna talk about something that's building our family, building our community. And when we do that, we'll realize when we lay those bricks, so perfectly lay those bricks, after a while, you got a wall, and then you have a structure, and then you have a house. And when you do that, you'll have a community.
We have to find a way to make it cool again. Like, we have to find a way to make it cool to be financially literate. We have to find a way to make it cool to read. We have to find a way to make it cool to have this coding job or to have this engineering job or to own this HVAC business or to own this carpet cleaning business and not be really, we have to teach that it's cool to actually have it as opposed to trying to look like you have it. We have to make that cool again, because stunting is a thing now. You know what I'm saying? Stunting for clout, or like Roland said, wasting your last $300 on a pair of sneakers just because you think the pair of sneakers is gonna give you some status. You understand what I'm saying? Throwing $10,000 rims on a $700 car just to show that you got some status. You understand what I'm saying? We have to make it cool to actually, we have to make it cool again to actually use our money the way that it makes sense, so that way it can grow. Because right now, And we also have to teach them that the information is everywhere. Use that $2,000 device that you have in your hand and go punch in how to do this on YouTube for free. You understand what I'm saying? We have to make stuff like that cool again, and we actually have to let them know that it is available, and you don't have to pay an arm and a leg to get it. And sometimes you don't have to pay anything at all, but maybe an hour or two of your time. We have to just start making these things cool again, and we have to start speaking out on things that aren't. We have to start speaking out on things that are deemed as cool but are really detrimental, like the whole stunting thing, like the whole I gotta, like the whole false sense of this responsibility that we have. You understand what I'm saying? We have to speak out speak out against, for lack of a better term, because none of that is really helping. And all of that is really just digging us deeper in the hole that we are waiting on somebody else to dig us out of. When if we just sat down, reset, and said, all right, I'm doing this. Okay, I need to fix this, but I also need this. So let me do this first. And then when I do this, this might open up. We just have to start making things like that cool again.
And I have a friend who lives in Detroit, and he came down because he has government contracts. Never been in the military, never worked for the government, but he has government contracts. And I just had to sit and listen to how he does it because I want him to show me. Like the boy got money, long money. If you seen him walking around, look like just a regular dude. And he was telling me, what he does is he goes and bids for these contracts. And say he has, I think, 5 prisons in Texas to where he said one of them, all I provide is the bread. That's it. He say, I don't touch bread. I don't see bread. I talk to a company who makes bread, who sells
He's a
bread,
middleman,
and I get them to send the bread to them, and they send me a
and he
check, and I
paid
pay
for it.
them.
Yeah.
He say, I have toilet paper at another one. He says, I go around and I bid for these government contracts because they have money to give away. And if you look at him, you're like, okay, he ain't got no money like that. But yeah, he has moving trucks. He have box trucks. His. And see, to me, that's a cool dude. But to the kids, they want to see the dude riding around with the big rims and the, flashy car. And my father taught me a few things. He said you can make a ninja buy anything. All you got to do is make it shiny or put some lights on it. And I always had in my head, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to have all the shiny stuff, and look this part. And it stuck with me. And when I see people out here, I say, man, people think that's cool when this brother, he got long paper, legal paper. He ain't got to worry about nothing. His kids ain't got to worry about it. And we gotta make sure our children and our youngest see them as cool. Like this dude can buy the block if he wanted to, because they looking at that quick money. That quick money goes quick.
I'm so first of all, I feel attacked because I buy stuff for lights. Um, I like gadgets, man. The electronic stuff. They got lights that flicker. You know what I'm saying? All
But
right.
again, that's not hurting you.
I got it, man. Just,
So you
but
can do that.
so to your point, I agree. I like the start with the education piece because you're talking to somebody who didn't like to read when he was growing up. I hated to read. In fact, I would rather go take a bath than read. Y'all know young boys don't like taking baths, just being honest. I just didn't want to read. I would do anything on the planet if I could just not read, right? But later on, I found a love for reading. And I could, like we talked about the not too long ago, you have audiobooks now. So you can read and do some other things at the same time, and you can listen to them over and over again. I say that because I think that's the starting point. Like, you know, when it comes down to this whole financial literacy thing, like you got to build it one block at a time. And you have to start off with some foundation. And so the foundation, and then you go to the next level, go to the next level, go to the next level. Roland, I like the fact that you talked about your friend that have the government contracts. I'm gonna go a step further. Instead of trying to make him cool, why not we make him the norm? You see what I'm saying? If these kids growing up, they see all of these men and women owning their own contracts, doing their own thing, not necessarily having to rob Peter and Paul, right? I'm sorry, robbing Peter to pay Paul. I think that may be just enough to change the narrative. Stop watching these rap videos to where you see these, you know, this this facade to where they're just blowing money and all this other stuff, and it's cool. Like if somebody put in there the in the chat, stunt is a habit. Like that's frivolous. We got to stop promoting those things. Like if it's being played in your house, I get it. You don't want to keep stuff away from your kids, but how about let them see the right stuff? Don't let them spend time looking at that and studying that. Let them study the right stuff. Help them to study the right stuff. Help them to understand what the right stuff is, right? I think that's the thing. Once kids start seeing, you know, us collectively being in spaces to where we are writing checks, to where we have office buildings and we're leasing out spaces to other people. I think that will kind of help turn that over in their mind. And this wouldn't be such a difficult conversation. This wouldn't be such a difficult thing to figure out, because what we normalize, that's what ultimately they want to do. And that's just my thoughts, man. I don't think it's rocket science. I think the hard part has to be on the people who want to make the change, right? Be the change that you want to see in the world. If you want to help them to see differently, become differently first, so that they can actually see it. Um, so that's just my takes on that. So thank you guys for that. Let's kind of get some more some more chat information before we get to the next question, because I know some people have been putting a lot of stuff in the chats and I've been missing some of it. Um, yes, sir.
I got nothing.
Okay, I thought you was about to say something.
Oh, no, sir.
So Lisa Key says one of the ways to bridge the gap is reach. I'm sorry. One of the ways to bridge the gap is reach. Join a group and talk to an advisor that can give you direction. Okay, got it. One of the ways to bridge the gap is to join a group and talk to an advisor, talk to a person that can give you direction. Right, get a mentor, get somebody who is actually skilled in the art of finances, things of that nature. And I don't think it ends there, right? Because a lot of times what people do is they kind of get around these people and they get the information, but they don't necessarily have the I'm going to call it faith for now. They don't have the faith or the belief system to capture the information that's given to them. So I think it has to be a building process to get there as well. But thank you. I agree 100%. Um, One way is to educate people on the fear of money and usage. Changing how we view money helps as well. Absolutely. I agree. Like, if the first thing you do when you get paid is pay a bill, then that might be an indicator on how you view money. If that's the only thing you can do, that is definitely an indicator of how you view money. So I want to make sure I'm saying that it's not a bad thing if that's the case. It's an awareness thing. That's the key. So you have to become aware of that first. Once you become aware, now we're accountable and now we can look at making some changes. So thank you, Michelle, and I agree 100%. Um, what's next? Writing the vision and make it plain. Absolutely.
And don't
Absolutely.
share it with nobody. Do not share it with anybody. You write that vision, you make it plain, and you look at it every single day. Read it out loud every single day, and don't tell anybody. A lot of people block their blessings because they open their mouth too soon. Shut up about it. Shut up about it and just go do it. Talk about it after it's done. Then you can look back and say, hey, I just did that. Now I can brag about it.
Mm.
But during the process, shut up. That's my rant. Sorry.
Nope, you're good. You're good. And don't brag about it. Just be about it. Don't even brag. Just like Roland was just talking about his homeboy, right? Just live, right? You don't even have to flaunt. Just live. And then again, those blessings are going to just continue to run. So let's kind of go back up the how can individuals differentiate between wants and needs, because I think that's a great question at this point. Noticing the work life harmony is the second question. I think that's a great question to bring to the table at this point. Wait, we didn't finish that one.
I
Yeah,
think
no.
you. You go back. I think, you know.
I don't know. So the second question on the work-life harmony. Can you see it? There we go. All right. So, how can individuals differentiate between wants and needs when managing their finances and work life balance? And what strategies can they employ to prioritize essentials while curbing unnecessary expenses? Stop collecting boxes that you haven't opened in months.
Or get to the point where you collecting them boxes ain't gonna cause you to get evicted. This is one of those common sense questions. This is it frustrates me to no end that this is even a question, but it's a question. So I get it. Like, but how can you understand the difference between a want and a need? A need is a need. A want is I just want this, but I don't need it. I just want it. Can they be the same thing? Kinda. I wanted a blender and I needed a blender because I work out and I need to make my shakes. So I got a blender. I facilitated a need and it didn't cause none of my lights to turn off. You understand what I'm saying? So it's subjective, but this is just a common sense thing. And Lisa Keys said it. Put yourself on a budget and be disciplined enough in yourself to do it. It ain't about nobody else. Like, it isn't about anybody else. If you know that all you can afford is your needs and you can't have no wants, then there's something wrong.
Well, see, see, I got to interject for a second now because
Shoot.
no, seriously, because I know for a fact I witnessed it. Just being transparent, that there's some people who struggle, right? They struggle. Like, sure, they take care of the needs thing, but the wants thing is so heavy in their mind that sometimes what you'll find is that wants and needs they start merging. So if they got $100, they're gonna spend 99, and then eventually that $1 is gonna run out. Then they're gonna come around asking for help. So I think this is probably more common than what we realize.
That's why I said earlier, like, I don't understand why this is a question, but I understand why this is a question.
Hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? Just because of what you just said, there are people out here. But on the flip side of that, Roland said it earlier. This is information that we weren't privy to, so we couldn't hand it down like we were supposed to. So, as angry as I am, I can't really be angry because I'm my wiring is based off of what they knew. Like, they didn't know any better. I'm just pissed off that they didn't know any better. You understand what I'm saying? So, but like I said, man, if these conversations would have been, but now we're in a position where we know these things and we know where to find them and we can start handing them down. The thing is, like I said, we just got to make it cool. We got to make it cool to not be, we have to make it cool to not be a slave to capitalism the way that they want us to be a slave to capitalism, if that makes any sense.
I guess having kids, you learn to tell them, if you have habits that you can't keep up with, don't come to me for money. Because you will see a lot of people drinking, a lot of people smoking, a lot of people with cigarette, nicotine, and other smoke habits. And they'll smoke their money and want to pay bills with your money. You have to have enough intestinal fortitude to say no. Say no, because you have to allow people to bust their heads wide open sometime. You're going to fall, and I'm not going to be there to catch you because people get used to you catching them and you become a crutch. So it's like, oh, I need, no, you don't. You didn't need it when you were spending this money. So, want, if you can live without it, if you don't have, it's not your lights, your gas, getting to work, food, and other things that keep you going, you don't need it. And if it's a want, like I remember at one point, because I love my toys, so I was told I couldn't ride motorcycles no more. I know. So it's like every month I'm buying those things to go to the range. Every month I'm getting one. It's like, oh, it's a new one out. I'm looking online, it's a new one out. So I'm buying them. Then I can only, I don't know if you can say that. I can only fire one down the range at one time. I'm only gonna carry one at the most two, leave one in the car at one time. But I'm buying it. Oh, I got to get this one, got to get that one. Those were wants, but I could keep that up. Some people try, and then I had a friend. He was trying to keep up with me. Oh, I got to buy this one. I got to get that one. Like, dude, your kids need their cinnamon toast crunch in the morning. So unless you gonna be putting these in the pawn shop, you might want to leave that where it is and just get you one. So we have to know what we can afford. We have to, and that's with everything discipline. Discipline, if you discipline yourself in one thing, you can discipline yourself in all things.
Tell you what, you talking about cinnamon toast crunch? They better get ready for some King vitamins. What's wrong with you?
Oh,
What
that's
you got?
not like feet, man. That's that free cereal. No.
What you got, Chris?
Nah, but see, like I said, man, you and Roland both make great points. Y'all have vices, but you don't have to choose between your vice and whether or not you're going to eat. You don't have to choose between your vice and whether or not the lights is going to stay on. You don't have to choose between your vice and whether or not you can only talk on your phone on Wi-Fi. You understand what I'm saying? So, and another thing, we have to stop pocket watching. Quit pocket watching. Quit competing with each other. Stay in your financial lane until you can get better. And we have to make that cool. It's not cool to do that. It's cool to blow all of your money on these expensive pair of sneakers just to stunt like you got it, or this chain just to stunt like you got it, or go rent this car that you know you got to return to Enterprise, but you stunting for the weekend in this exotic car. I was watching a live stream of an up and coming rap star, and he was talking about all of the stuff that they gave him. They gave him the $10,000 grill that he put in his mouth. They gave him the $100,000 chain he was wearing around his neck. They gave him a Renault Dodge Charger SRT Hellcat. They gave him all of these things, and he was saying, "Man, these people gave me this stuff so that way I could put it in my video and make them more money. But you wasted your 9 to 5 money to look like me. Why would you do that?" And this is when it and Vince Staples said something like that too. He said that the whole flashy lifestyle is just to keep people buying stuff and keep people broke and keep people competing. That's really it.
And I have I can't say name, but close family relative where they had two songs on the radio, and then they got a $1 million contract from the record company. Went out and bought a Rolls Royce. I'm like, dude, you living in an apartment,
He got that Rolls though.
and had to take it back. Had to take it back. And
See,
then when they don't know, when they give you chains, when they give you these things, they ain't give you nothing for free because they gonna recoup their money off of what. So now you paying them to rap, you paying them to make music.
This sounds familiar. I said this, I think it was last week, week before last. If you control, if you can control a man's thinking, you do not have to worry about his actions. When you determine what a man should think, you do not have to concern yourself about what he would do. If you make a man feel like he is inferior, you do not have to compel him to accept an inferior status, for he will seek it himself. If you make a man think that he is justly an outcast, you do not have to order him to the back door. He will go without being told, and if there is no back door, his very nature will demand one. That's really what it is. We have to get to the point to where we recognize that we were created to be higher than what our behavior is displaying right now, collectively. I'm not it's not about those of us who are understanding, growing, and developing, right? Because there's still more to do. There's still more to grow, right? We haven't reached the pinnacle. But we also have to realize there's a lot of people right now that are hurting themselves and don't even realize that they're doing it. And they really believe that they are, quote unquote, living their best life. So that's just kind of like how I look at it. And uh, you say give, this $10,000 mouthpiece and $100,000 chain. I bet some way you'll find that written in a contract someplace. Guaranteed. Guaranteed.
Yeah, like he was saying, like he has to wear these things because they gave them to him so that way he could promote their stuff, and it's all contractual. But he flipped it like they gave me all of this stuff, but why are you wasting your money on things that they gave me just to look like me? Why not do what I'm doing so that way people can start giving you the same thing? He flipped it like that instead of stunting just to like blowing working for this big thing and then the next 2 weeks you broke. You
Yeah,
understand what I'm saying? So yeah, there's that.
absolutely. Listen, I want to thank each and every one of you who have been with us tonight. We greatly appreciate you. We appreciate the value that you're adding over there in the chat. As always, you guys are awesome. And again, just want to address that before we get into the bittersweet moment that we tend to call our final thoughts. So, that being said, we're going to turn it over to the youngest member on the panel tonight, Brother Chris. Chris is going to give his thoughts. And then, of course, the Mr. Poor Man's Dr. Phil up there, and then I'll go last. So that being said, Chris, brother, you have the floor.
My final thought is just going to be simple. Work life balance, financial stewardship, and spiritual health looks different for everybody. So find out what that means for you and go pursue it. It doesn't look like how another person looks, especially if that's not fit for you. Find out what you need, find out what you want, and go get it. There's nothing stopping you. Just go get it. Um, but I'm not going to not say that there is a definite need of a balance because like I said, man, sometimes if you don't sit down, your body will sit you down when you're trying to complete this thing and you're not really balancing out the life side of it and you focus too much on the work side of it. So that's my final thought.
Find yourself some materials to read, some people to follow, some people to educate yourself where you can know what's out there for you to do and discipline yourself. You have to discipline yourself financially because if you don't do that, nothing else in your life is going to be disciplined. Uh, you can buy free books. You can look online at webinars or whatever it is, but you have to educate yourself so that you can educate somebody else because we have to stop the cycles that perpetuate our community so that we can be better off, so that we can start to build, so that we can trust one another because we don't trust one another with our money. We rather see the other person handle our finances, handle our affairs. But when we have that community that works together, that is jointly fitted together, where we can know that we can trust one another, then we'll start to build, we'll start to work together, and we'll just look different, not only to other people, but to ourselves. Because it's not about proving yourself to somebody else, it's about proving yourself to you that you can do it. And then when you do that, then you'll teach others that are in your circle that they can do it as well.
I think when it comes down to work life balance, I think it's more so of a harmonious thing that we're looking for. I think it looks different from person to person, therefore, it's harmony, not so much as balance. It may look one way at an early stage in your life, and it may look totally different later on when you mature and you're not necessarily working on survival. When it comes down to the financial literacy piece, I think that's the other side of the harmony as well. If you become more literate and then finances no longer are a problem, then you're not necessarily handicapped to that job. You're not necessarily working the long hours day and night. You're taking more vacation time and doing more for your family, like we heard tonight. Doing more for yourself as well. You're working on something that will help liberate you, which is ultimately what we all should be working on, right? Everybody should be working on something that liberates them. I can't stress that enough. Everybody should be working on something that liberates you from your job. I think that's important to understand. Um, but when it comes down to lastly, spiritual health, We got to make sure we put these things in order. Spiritual health will always precede anything else that we talked about tonight. If you're not spiritually healthy, then you're going to end up being in a space to where you're physically hindered because of the lack of the spiritual concern. Um, and last but not least, I want to stress it again: join the community to where we continue these conversations. You need to be around people who talk like this on a regular basis, that ask you questions, that sharpen your mind, that make you think on a higher plane, as opposed to just continuing along the path of the other social media platforms, to where all they talk about is what's on the news and what's on this, and all types of stuff of that nature. So again, go to www.totalmindsetshift and join a community where we can continue to talk about things of this magnitude. Ask questions. That's what we do. Ask questions to where we can actually exist in a space of what I tend to call collective learning. Right? One of us is I mean, one is okay, but when you got a multitude of us together, you're now benefiting from the collective intelligences of a group. So again, join the community at www.totalmindsetshift.com to continue in conversations like this. That being said, I want to thank these gentlemen on this panel today for just being completely transparent, sharing their thoughts, their knowledges when it comes down to these different conversations. And again, I want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat, old and new. You're always welcome here on this platform. We appreciate you. We value you. Don't forget, tomorrow morning at 10:30 a.m., it'll be myself and Anita and a special guest, right? And then we're going to be talking about something about relationship and love. Yeah, y'all just be there. Just be there so y'all can enjoy the conversation. Come with your pen and paper, because they're gonna set the stage on fire. I'm just gonna be there to fan the flames. Listen, you guys have a great rest of your evening. For those of you who are going to join us in the morning, we will see you in the morning. If you don't join us in the morning, have a fantastic weekend, and we'll see you next week, same time, same location, on the Hearts and Men podcast.